We are recording. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the lawn and garden section. I'm Kristopher from the Midwest Workshop and Garden. I believe that's my channel name. And I didn't have, my wife had a baby 2 Saturdays ago. So if I seem more tired than normal, it's because we have an 11-day-old child. And this is Jason Cyberlick from our lawn.
Absolutely. Jason Cyberlick on YouTube and Instagram and just about everywhere. And I forgot about that. And congratulations. That is awesome.
Hey, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's we've got two girls now. This one is named Louisa Catherine Ulrich, and she's great. She's doing all the
Fantastic.
things that baby should be. She's eating, growing, sleeping, all that good stuff.
Awesome.
Speaking of
That's great to
growing,
hear.
thank you. Speaking of growing, the moments before we started this recording session, Jason was saying that his channel was growing in leaps and bounds because he was featured in somebody's on a video with somebody very famous. What is this person's name? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the channel name is Princess Cut Lawn Care. And he's just managed to, I mean, he makes great videos, great content around the lawn, managed to make some that caught the algorithm on several instances in a row. So his channel's been growing like crazy. Been talking to him quite a bit, which is cool. That's the cool thing of YouTube, right? Is you meet all these people within communities of where your hobby is, and so it's cool to be able to call some of these people, friends at this point. And so yeah, I was in his video with the handoff of his Greensmaster 1000 from which is a Toro lawnmower they use on golf courses. So that's what I had.
And it looks
Excuse me.
beautiful. I was saying that for everybody watching, if you haven't seen Jason's video about everything you need to know about putting a putting green in your backyard, it's really good. It's very therapeutic, actually, just to watch. That was my washing dishes the other day, and it's great. I don't know much about putting greens, but man, it was very informative and easy to listen to. So good job. Nice work.
Well, I appreciate that. And that was kind of the point of the video is I don't know that much about having a putting green either, and yet I've managed to figure it out. So
Yeah.
you can too if that's something you're looking to do.
Exactly. Well, today you may notice, anybody watching, that I have some wildflowers as my background because our topic of conversation is the potentially controversial No Mow May, which is like no shave November for your face, but for your lawn in the month of May. I am doing it. Jason is not. I think today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons to it and yeah, everything there. So who would like to begin? Shall we flip a coin? You have a
Sure.
coin?
I was just gonna say it's brave with the month that they picked because especially up here, cool season turf, May is like the most growth that turf grass will do for the
Mhm.
whole year.
And we get all these nice spring rains too. Those April showers that extend well into May for us. It's like free water, and well, obviously it's rain. So yeah, lots of good growth there. But I suppose it's not just growth for the grass, but growth
Correct.
for anything else that you have inside there. So the way that I understand it is the pitch is to let your grass grow, particularly for the things that are amongst your grass. Those of us who haven't, treated it to just be a monoculture of, grass. But I've got my not just dandelions, but various clovers and daisies, and the creeping jaspers and things that also have some little violets on them, to get those growing and increase pollinator proficiency effectively in the yard. Something that I read prior to this, let's see. So we're in Oshkosh. I'm in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And then the city of Appleton, two cities north of us, did it 2 years ago before COVID. And that was their first time. They had 400 some households sign up and participate. And there was a professor that went through and actually did bee counts of the yard before and after, I think, from 1 year comparatively, and found like a multiple hundred percentage increase in pollinators, bumblebees in specific, floating around the yards. And I think, to me, that's what I want. I want to see an increase in pollinators. I have a good deal of bumblebees and honestly wasps, but they're fine. And then butterflies when they get into season. But I have so many vegetables, and now 7 of my 9 fruit trees are flowering too. I really want to see bumblebees foraging from ground up and all over, and just see what it does. So
Yeah.
I think this year, if anything else, I'm just intrigued. And I know in previous videos I had said that we were going to follow Jason's advice and like get my yard looking really good, and now I'm just not going to mow it for a month.
Yeah, and that
Um,
that's fine. And I guess maybe to be clear, I think that stuff is valuable. if every single square foot of the ground was, turf managed like myself and, other people that take care of their yards to be the grass mono stands. If every single square foot was that, that'd be a problem. So
Sure.
need to have that balance. So I'm certainly not against it.
Well, that's good to hear. And I don't mean to make it sound like you are against it. I just think, obviously your channel is lawn care. And I have to say, I feel a little icky doing it because I like a well manicured lawn, especially the stuff that faces the street, and the sidewalk with people walking by. We live on a pretty busy street, and I'm pretty judgmental. When it's not like a city sanctioned no mow month, like I really hate, especially rental properties that just let it go and it's gross. And
Yeah.
I read a city of Oshkosh statistic that for the month of May, they gross at an average $4,200 in income for complaints registered that the city then goes and mows and charges you a bill for. So like there's a little bit of revenue lost for this citywide experiment. And I'm
Interesting.
just
So then,
by my time,
basically the city is not going to do that, or basically it's a joint effort with the city then.
it is so the Common Council voted on it April 14th, 15th, 16th, something like that, 5-2 in favor of No Mow May. So they're suspending the city ordinance for lawn care, like maintenance, 8 inches or whatever, through the end of the month of May. So June 1, you gotta cut it down. So there's the people out there like me who are thinking, oh, this is neat. I'm going to approach it from maybe a scientific aspect or a gardener's aspect, or just, engage with this thing that's been promoted in our newspaper and online. And then there are just the normal people who are schmucks, who are lazy, who don't do anything to the yard. And they're like, oh, I get a free pass.
Hey.
Effectively. So some people started No Mow May already in April in our
April, yeah.
Yeah.
Although did it rain much up by you in April at all?
We had some intermittent rain. Yeah, April was rainy enough. And it was warm. It was warmer aggregate wise. I mean, our grass is really green. Our trees are like 2 weeks ahead of where they are normally. So it's different.
Yeah, the temperature was there, and my yard looks really good, but we got I want to say an inch and a half of rain the week of April 4th, like that through that the 10th. We got an inch and a half from the 10th to, I think, what, 2 days ago it rained. Yeah, so May 3rd. So from April 10th to May 3rd, we got 0.2 of an inch of rain total.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a little bit of a drought.
Yeah. And so actually I took an opportunity to be somewhat conservationist and responsible with the recent video, and showed how green and healthy my yard looked despite, the fact that it didn't have any water, and talk about how the fact that just because, a study and recommended practice is that your turf needs an inch and a half of water every week doesn't mean that you actually have to go out there and spend the money and the water and all that to do it. So,
so for those of us mowing their lawns in May, let's say normal people, what should a normal person be doing for that pristine lawn care on a budget this month?
So I've also, since we spoke last, done a video on how important mowing your lawn is for its health, to the point where I would say that if you don't mow often enough, no amount of the other stuff that you do is going to get you a nice yard. So like fertilizing, weed killing, all that stuff, if you aren't mowing it frequently and letting it grow up and then shave it all back down and grow up and shave it all back down, leave the mess in the ground, all of that, you're not going to be able to overcome that. So especially like I had said earlier, with May being the heaviest growth month of the year, really, I would say at minimum, you should be mowing once a week. I'm mowing every third or fourth day or so. You can alleviate a little bit of that if you want to mow a little taller. There's the thing is, so the simplest rule to understand is there's something that everybody refers to as the 1/3 rule. So in order to put as little amount of stress on the grass plant as possible, you want to make sure you're never mowing off more than 1/3 of the grass blade. So mathematically speaking, then the taller you keep your grass, the taller 1/3 is, so you can go a little bit longer between mows, because math.
That makes sense. Well, I'm going to be shocking my yard pretty badly when I cut it down from 8 inches or whatever at the end of May.
I'm going to say you'll be lucky if it's at 8 inches.
Oh, you think so?
I think no, I think it'll be well in excess of a foot.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go out there. I'll go out there with a a yardstick, and we'll get some video of that. I'm taking some intermittent footage. I'm gonna do a video on I did No Mow May and allude to this. Maybe throw some clips in there too.
Yeah,
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So you think I'm gonna get over a foot? That's cool. I also overseeded, which is just probably a stupid thing, but I'm like, what the hell? Let's go out there and let's seed some of this thick stuff. And
that might actually help depending on where you started. So if like April 30th, you went and cut it down pretty short and then seeded, that might kind of help. You're going to lose some of the sunlight because the cover of the taller grass, but that might actually do okay because you're not going to disturb it. You're not going to, risk damaging it by walking on it, not going to damage it mowing the other grass. It might actually help it kind of germinate and come up.
well, that's interesting. Cool. Well, hey, what the heck? That's fine. I am eager to see what happens. And I had some bare spots that actually needed it. I had a stump ground at last fall. I was like, okay, let's
Okay.
put some felt over this, rake up the stuff, put some seed. Like that was something that I actually had to seed. And I can see that it's already coming up, which is nice, optimistic this time of year.
Yeah.
So would you ever consider leaving a section of your backyard to grow farro? Maybe farro is not the right area, but cut it down low or lay a tarp over a 2 or 3 row section and then plant some wildflower mix and get something with 18-inch or so native flowers, like a cone flower mix, bluebell mix, this and that.
I kind of did that indirectly for a long time just because I never treated beyond the big ash trees in the backyard. So
Yeah.
there was like 15, 20 feet beyond that is very flowery. And actually, what I will say is there's either wild violet or something with a violet flower, some
Yeah.
sort of creeping weed on there with like a violet flower. And that is legitimately very pretty.
Isn't it neat? There's a property that I'm trying to acquire still behind my backyard. And since he's selling it, he hasn't been out there to mow it. And this is the longest that it's gone so far in a season. And it's really beautiful out my kitchen window. We've got white of clover, yellow of dandelion, of course, and then these beautiful violet creeping things. And it's neat. It's a lovely tapestry. I could have used that as my background today. Right underneath of all things, a black walnut tree. And you know how difficult it is for things to grow under black walnut. Here we've just got native species doing their thing, filling that niche. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be doing that anywhere on the property. Everything has its kind of place and spot already.
So well maintained. Yeah.
Yeah, there will still be some wild area, and we're gonna bring flowers back in here at some point. With there's quite a few landscaping beds throughout the property. There's 4 or 5 landscape beds that we'll put flowers and trees and stuff back into. The more I stare up at my ash trees, the more I think I probably need to cut them down sooner than later.
How old
Unfortunately,
are they?
What's up?
How old are they?
Very.
Yeah.
But basically, anytime you got to go about 2/3 of the way up the tree before you get any leaves, and you also got go about that far up the tree before you get any limbs with bark on them.
Oh,
just because the ash borer is so bad and the woodpeckers are then just destroying it. So maybe that would where those are would be a good place to have fruit trees and stuff. So that could help as well.
cool. Yeah, do it now before this, so you can get some other planting into the season. I think that's a great idea. It's an unfortunate thing. It kind of kills you getting rid of an old tree, but if it's that sick, I mean, its days are numbered anyways.
Yeah, I'm trying to put it off just to have the liquidity necessary to be able to afford cutting them down.
Oh yeah, that's true. Especially depending on who you get to do it. Holy cow! I suppose you don't need an arborist for just chopping down the tree all the way. You could get a relative hack job for it, but yeah, it ain't cheap. That ain't cheap. So let's see, No Mow May. If it could be in any other month, Jason, that would be maybe more or less harsh on the lawn care side of things. When do you think it should be put?
The only thing is I don't know why, because the goal is, with the goal being, we want to leave everything that's flowering.
Yeah, it's a pollinator thing, definitely.
So, I mean, ideally, I almost did No Mow July last year.
Just out of drought?
Just because the drought and the heat was so bad that both it's not growing because it slows down, if not goes dormant. I watered my two main sections of my yard to keep those going. But the everything else I just let go dormant. So I maybe mowed once or twice in all of July. So, from and also when it's that hot and that dry, you're actually really putting some strain on the grass plant if you cut it when it's stressed. So not only is it a slow growing month, but you're almost helping it by not cutting it during that month as well.
Sure. Yeah, I slow down for sure in the summer months. And I tend to keep my grass longer too, so it looks
Yep.
nicer than the people that are chopping it short.
Yep.
Speaking of grass length, so July, that's a good answer for that, definitely. And every now and then you'll get that nice July thunderstorm in Wisconsin that would, just kind of make it feel good. When I cut down my grass, let's see, I think I keep my lawnmower at maybe 1.5 inches now. I'm interested in raising it up to 2 inches, but I haven't done that for a while because my grass grows in so slowly. And I'm thinking,
Okay.
oh, I've got sawdust on my face. I look like a hobo. I'm thinking that since my grass is going to be 8+ inches, cutting it down to 2 inches will just seem like a nice even thing everywhere. So I can kind of overcome that hurdle that I just haven't been able to make. Is 2 inches a good number for me, or should I shoot longer?
2 inches is pretty short.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the normal everyone cutting height, because it's either like the second or third notch from the bottom on most lawnmowers. And
Ah,
it's, I think, where everybody lives. But springtime, that's fine. Cool time, spring and fall, you can get away with shorter. Um, but summer, I'm right now cutting at 2.5 everywhere, except for the fairway and the green, which are at 0.4 of an inch. And then I just cut at 5/32 on the green just before we got on this call.
what's the
But
30 second among friends, right?
um, but I'll go from 2.5 to, like, in June when it starts to get warm, but it's still raining, I go up to 3. And
Wow.
then basically once you get into July and August, I go to 3.5, but the recommendation is you basically go as tall as your mower will cut.
See, that's so interesting. And I feel like I already keep my grass at a longer level than the majority of the people on my street. And here I'm thinking, oh, maybe 1.5 inches is too long. Cause I like to go out there every probably 5, 6, 7 days, not as frequently as you, but still enough just to keep it
Yep.
looking good. Well, I can push myself up then maybe to that 3 inch mark and see where we go from there. That's exciting. See, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have done that had we not talked.
And so if you think about it, really, I mean, basically through the summer months, you're fighting against soil heat and soil moisture. So the longer the grass blade is, for one, the more like room it has to shade the soil. So basically, the longer the turf, the more it is capable of shading the soil, thus protecting its root system from cooking. You're also creating a denser, thicker canopy for water loss.
Yeah.
So you're making it a little bit more difficult for water to leave the soil.
Operation.
Um, and yeah, those are the two biggest things. And then also when you're mowing and you're mowing it taller, there's a good chance that you're putting less stress on the plant. When you're mowing taller, you have a good chance, if it's uneven, you're not going to be having, the scalp rings where, you dip a wheel into a hole in your yard and you get that little scalp ring. That's obviously very bad, very unhealthy for your turf. So basically everything about mowing tall is better for turf health.
Well, and now that I'm thinking of it too, I think that also kind of ties into the goal of this No Mow May of increasing those wildflowers and the pollinators. If you're mowing that high, a lot of these creeping flowers in particular are probably going to be below blade level.
Mhm.
So, if I use this as an opportunity for just being more mindful in the future, I can probably still have a healthier lawn by mowing higher and maintain some of those clovery flowers for my pollinators.
Yeah,
Cool.
because what'll happen is you kind of lose, like, creeping Charlie down into the grass canopy.
That's
It's
fine.
still there, but
Yeah.
for one, visually you're hiding it from people that are walking by, so they can't see that you have the weed in there. And if that's something you care about, if not, then whatever. But um, and also then you're kind of allowing everything to coexist in the place that it should be. Because really, if you think about a field, you have, the grass is going to be 2-3 feet tall,
Yeah.
and then the flower is kind of living in and amongst it. So you're kind of creating that sort of habitat in your lawn as well.
I wonder if we're going to run into like vole issues or mice issues in the long grass. I've never really considered varmints because I've just never had to.
Maybe I've never noticed I have like really bad vole. Well, I had. I think I've handled a lot of them.
Yeah, my dog
But
has handled all of them for me. Yeah.
my dog's useless when it comes to that. She'll just like stare at it and play with it. Um, but let's see, what were we talking? Oh,
Yeah,
I've never seen any damage during the summer. It all is like winter when the snow comes up because they all chewed and ate underneath.
well, maybe not even damage. I just wonder if I'm going to see them. Like I never really
True.
pay attention that much to see if I have a mouse scurrying or something. But if the grass is, this tall, that's full coverage. You could lose a bird in that.
Yeah.
Interested to find out, I guess.
You're probably safer with the rotary with the reel mower, but I will say with a rotary, the taller you cut, probably the more likely you are to shred a bunny nest. So there's that to just be aware of.
That's hard. I will walk through beforehand. That's good to know. Yeah, thanks.
I had a coworker talk about how she just, because I think she's even got a riding lawnmower. So like just catastrophe. Basically, which I don't even know how I would be able to deal with that. But she's like the quintessential.
I'll refrain from sharing this bit of knowledge with my little daughter who loves bunnies.
Yes. Yeah, I love bunnies.
Yeah, me too.
So dang cute.
Let's see. So picking up.
What other information was in that study you read? Because that's really interesting, the impact it had on like pollinator presence.
Let me see what I can pull up. There are some quick keyword searches that anybody listening can do. You can do like Appleton, Wisconsin, No Mow May 2019, and it talks about the professor from Lawrence who did it. I know. Okay. I should have just checked off the top of my head or kept the article up. I remember a multiple 100% increase in pollinators, like actually going out there and counting. I remember there was another study attached to this. I think that happened ahead of time before Appleton did it. It might have been in the United Kingdom. And they actually, they were the people that physically counted pollinators in this like window. I think they started the No Mow May at the beginning, and then from maybe the 23rd through the 27th or something, they went out there, they did a flower count, they did a bee count. They took all the metrics, the measurements just to see, what these No Mow May participants' yards, how they measured up compared to standard yards. And there was a huge increase in pollinators and percentage wildflower yield effectively, because they're probably there in the normal lawns too. They just keep getting cut down.
Yep.
And I think there was something else that I read in one of them that when you let those wildflowers grow, of course, they will proliferate more because they're not being cut down. So if you do this subsequent years, you're going to increase your wildflower growth because you give them a long period of time to actually grow and maybe spread a little bit. So year after year, that kind of aggregates. And I suppose then if I'm increasing my height on this too, that'll probably increase their chances of spreading, perhaps to the detriment of one of my neighbors who likes to spray. But I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know if there are other interesting statistics, and especially not in our area. So Appleton just did it once. They skipped COVID, and now they're doing it twice. Yeah, that's that. The complaints for it, or the two council members who voted against it. One was for the loss of revenue, effectively, and the other was for the fact that our ordinances are pretty laid out, and it's a struggle to get some yards to actually mow. And here we're letting everybody do it. So, but he's kind of a curmudgeon, anyways. So
yeah, I have a guess as to the type.
Yeah.
But okay, no, I think that's cool.
I think so too. We'll find out. I will let you know everything about this, and I might even pick your brain before I make my edit of my I did No Mow May video and see what happens there. But I think that about covers this topic.
Yeah. I think one thing I will say is if you are someone who is going to let your yard grow up, maybe you're going to go on a long vacation, maybe you're doing No Mow May. I would say whenever you cut it back down, to do something to keep it as tall as you can for a period, and then you're going to want to slowly work height back down to wherever you want to sit. So if you ever have a time where the grass gets away from you, that's one of the reasons why I stay at 3 and 3.5 inches rather than the top of my mower setting. Because if I ever do have a time where it gets away from me, I can put the mower up a setting a little bit cut it there for a week or two, and then come back down, because that's just going to help the overall.
Reduce the stress.
Basically, anytime you can put as little stress as possible through the plant, it's going to reduce the need for input. It's going to reduce, the need for water. It's going to reduce the need for fertilizers. It's going to reduce. The better you maintain a yard from a perspective of mowing it, the less input you need to make it be healthy.
And I suppose my final thought for this is I'm going to actually bag the grass that I cut and add it to my compost, as opposed to letting it just fall down. Because I think if I have that much clipping at one time, yeah, I'm going to be squashing the turf.
Yeah. You may even need to, you're going to have like a scythe, or use like a string trimmer, or
borrow somebody's with a rake.
Or borrow somebody's rotary mower, because I don't think there's a chance in the world you're going to be able to get that Fiskars through.
I still have my rotary mower.
Okay.
Because I used it to chop up leaves last fall. I guess I will raise that up and start there.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on this. A little shorter than normal, but good topic. Be sure to follow up with our, respective videos next month and hear what we had to say. So until then, subscribe to the channels and happy gardening.
See you in our lawn.
See you in our lawn. Peace.